about the age, from about preschool up until high school, I was bullied practically every single day. I was called names by the other kids, taunted by them, often chased home by groups of kids who wanted to beat me up. And when I think about the bullying I experienced as a kid, I think about a number of things. I think, first of all, I think it's curious that anti-gay slurs were used to bully me, but I was really being bullied because of my gender expression. I didn't act the ways in which someone assigned at male was supposed to act according to the other kids. They said I acted like a girl, whatever that means, because we know girls act all sorts of ways, right? And I think if we are really and truly serious about ending the bullying of our LGBTQ youth, all of our youth really, I believe we have to begin to create spaces of gender self-determination for all of our kids. Now the gender binary model, the gender system that we all exist under in this country, many of us resisting, that gender binary model conflates sexual orientation and gender identity. We all know that sexual orientation is who you are attracted to, and gender identity is how you identify in terms of being male, female, both, neither, it's all good. And when I think about the gender binary model, I think that it cannot really exist without gender policing. Now the flawed logic of the gender binary model basically states that if one is born with a penis, they should be masculine and attracted to women. And if one is born with a vagina, they should be feminine and attracted to men. But we know that the lived experiences, the realities of our lives defy this binary model, defy this conflation. And we understand that gender policing is something that is very systemic in this culture. That the whole idea of binary bathrooms, for example, is something that is very systemic. When we take the risk or take the moment in our institutions to create gender-neutral bathrooms, which I understand they have in the White House now. Do we have gender-neutral bathrooms here, Marquette? No. Something to work on. Something to work on. When we do that, we're taking a really important step to move away systemically from this gender binary model. Now the systemic, there's systemic ways in which gender is policed and this binary model is policed, but often each of us as individuals are often called upon to be the gender police in our own lives, to enforce very rigid ideas about what it means to be a man or a woman. And I often like to think, try to imagine what would it be like for a day, a week, a month, or a year if each of us decides that we're not going to be the gender police today, that we're going to allow people to express their gender in ways that feel most authentic to them. What a wonderful world that would be. So another thing I think about when I think about the bullying I experienced as a kid is my mother's reaction to it. When my mother would find out what was happening to me at school, she would often say to me, "What are you doing to make the kids treat you that way, and why are you fighting back?" Now, I have to be honest, there was something in me as a kid that felt I was above duking it out on the schoolyard with other kids. I'll say it, I felt I was above it. And quite frankly, I was terrified. It was really, really scary when 4 or 5, sometimes 6 or 7 kids were chasing me and wanted to beat me up. It was terrifying. And when my mother would say to me, "What are you doing to make them treat you that way?" I was just being myself. I was just acting in ways that felt most authentic to me. And my mother's reaction was the beginnings of me internalizing a tremendous amount of shame about who I was. And when I talk about shame, I love to allude to Brene Brown's work on the subject. Do we know Brene Brown? Some of us? Her work has been so pivotal for me in working through my shame, my shame tapes. And Brene Brown is a shame researcher, a qualitative researcher. So all of her research is based on interviews, very extensive interviews with thousands of individuals at this point. And she defines shame as the intensely painful belief that one is unlovable, that one is unworthy of connection and belonging. She tells us that guilt is I did something wrong, and shame is I am wrong. And from a very early age, I began to feel that I was wrong. Now, so I didn't feel fully safe at school, and I didn't feel fully safe at home, but where I did feel safe was in my imagination. I loved to dance as a kid, and I was pretty good at it, if I must say so myself. I was really good at looking at choreography on television and imitating it perfectly. I would always have music in my head and characters in my head that I would express through this dance movement. And I danced everywhere. I danced around everywhere. And from about the age of 5 years old till 3rd grade, I begged my mother to put me into dance classes. And finally, when I was in 3rd grade, she found a program for me